Thank you very much, gentlemen. The question of what will happen next, I'm pretty sure we all know. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. Earlier today, we did talk about Bengi and Pomelo. Just before we went into that match, we were highlighting the two junglers. I do want to point out that Pomelo has given up first blood to Bengi in both games of the series, both times playing Pantheon, and both times Bengi getting his hands on that Kha'Zix. It's something that SKT have first picked on the first rotation on both sides of red, so we'll have to see what they do in this next game. The composition SKT ran now, vastly different from game one, I would say. Heavily focusing around finding picks, running people down. Monty, what was your thoughts on the champions and seeing Zilean as well?
Well, the Zilean pick was very good in this situation, and if we take a look at SK Telecom T1 K's composition, it's actually very similar at its core to the composition they used in the one game they won against Samsung Ozone in the quarterfinals of Champion Spring. Of course, Ozone went on to win that best-of-5 3-1, but it was the TF and the Twitch combination that really made the big difference because you are able to make plays and picks so easily you don't know where it is. The Zilean comes in, especially with the speed boost that he gives, and it's nearly impossible to run away from. You've got the Twitch, a ghosting TF, and potentially a speed-boosted invisible Twitch, coming in. There's no way you can prevent yourself from dying effectively. And so as long as SK Telecom has a strong early laning phase, there's really no recourse for OMG because they're going to get chased around the map.
And we really saw the difference, from teams here. Also, last game, SKT had the late game comp. They took it easy early game. OMG was in the game, actually got a lot of kills. This time around, when there was a strong early game comp here and strong pick comp from SKT, OMG had absolutely no chance. And that's what we saw. And to be fair, if SKT can just pick the same thing again here, obviously now they're on blue side, so they can't do the same thing where they give you one of the strong picks and take two of them. So possibly banning away the Kha'Zix or Twitch, but we'll see.
It almost felt like SKT was a little less serious here. If you have a Zilean support and he's allowed to go Spell Thieves into tier, first two items, and then survive. Yeah. And while I agree with what the Zilean offered, but then in my mind, Karma does exactly the same and is way more conventional and offers even better poke early. So I think it doesn't matter what Pumandu would have picked. The cornerstones of those composition really was like the TF Twitch, and then just the way they played it out. They just played it smarter. And every game we've seen so far, OMG keeps tunnel visioning on these kills, but they don't calculate in what am I going to do with this kill. Am I going to get an objective off the back of that one? No, we're just going to go keep killing, and then we'll look around. Can we get something? Yeah, there's a tower, but somebody's on bot lane, so let's go kill that guy instead.
Not thinking far enough ahead.
Yeah, I want to actually respond to your point real quick, because it seems like the way that the Chinese teams are playing actually is they'll just get kills when there's kills to power up their individual members, because the objectives they play for are timed on the map. It's blue buffs and dragons. Okay, yes, they could get turrets, and I think that's actually correct that OMG could look for turrets more often, but the objective these guys go for is, well, we're timing our cooldowns based off of dragon respawn or blue buff respawn, and that's the objective gameplay they go for. And then you were talking about the comps playing out properly, and there was so much focus placed on the mid lane and getting Faker ahead that, TF gets to go roam for free, right? They already bolster the source of the global, and Faker can do everything he wants.
Yeah, not only that, just to talk about the Zilean pick a little bit more, if you know that OMG is going to be going after these kills, and you've got a couple of globals on the side of SK Telecom, yeah, Karma's great. Of course, you can disengage with the speed, but part of that, too, is that you can instantly revive somebody if the Pantheon comes in, and then the double globals will come in and turn the tables while that person revives. So I think there is actually a very interesting logic to picking the Zilean against the playstyle of OMG.
So I want to talk a little bit more about some of OMG's players. Let's start with Xiang. On champions like Ziggs and Syndra, he is mechanically equal on par with Faker, I would say, at that level of control on those specific champions. However, when we've seen him on Lulu, for example, I'm thoroughly uninspired. He doesn't have anywhere near the same level of impact. Of course, yes, Lulu's not the same level of play. You don't have as many options to make plays. But regardless, I never felt like his Lulu was super positive or super reinforcing for his team. Deficio, what's your take on Xiang and the different champions he plays?
Well, so it seems a bit, I wouldn't say he's holding the team down in the case he can only play certain champions, but the whole playstyle of OMG is built around him winning his mid lane. And for him, when he wins the mid lane, they can then go into the enemy jungle, they can set up picks, whatever they want, go for objectives. However, as you just said, whenever he's not playing Ziggs or Syndra, he's falling behind in CS, he's maybe even dying in lane. Link beat him as well with Nidalee on CS in the game, Cloud9 versus OMG. Like, you're never supposed to do that. And it just seems like he needs to expand his champion pool, and in general, he needs to have more options to play. I mean, you look at Faker, he can play assassins, he can play, late game champions, he can play everything. Xiang, he can pretty much only play these 2 champions, and if they're banned away, or at least one of them is banned away, and the Ziggs is not really an option for him, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and actually I'm glad you talked about Ziggs at the very end there, because I think Ziggs is actually super key for them, because it actually, I don't want to say like hard counters, but it's very, very well against the SKT play style, where SKT predictably shows up to a big minion wave on a turret. And we actually saw in SKT's game against OMG, it was Ziggs to my knowledge, right? They would stop a push, the team would group up because SKT would stay for the second wave, and then just get engaged on. And that was something that worked reliably well for OMG in that game. They nearly won that back in the group stage. So I do want to see Ziggs actually come in. That's actually my expectation here in Game 3. But also, again, I want to bounce off you and say, yeah, I would like to see Xiang pick up another fighting-type mid laner, someone that just is a damage focus, because that seems to be the high-impact champions that work for the team.
Aside from picks and strategy, I just wonder what the morale is like now for OMG, because they've been very successful within their league. They've played it the same style over and over, and they've been successful in doing so. Play the same champions over and over, and once you play like your favorite champions and your favorite style, and you're just absolutely demolished by an opposing team, and you then have to go win 3 games in a row, it's going to be very rough to stay mentally stable in that one.
Yeah, I'm really glad you put that, because that is the closing thoughts of this. SKT in Game 1 gave OMG a lot of their favorite picks and beat them. Now they picked a comp with a little bit of fun with the Zillion and still beat OMG. SKT had all the tools they needed to win, and we'll see if they can keep channeling that. We do need to progress with the show, so what that means is now time to take the pulse of the Twitter sphere. So to remind you guys, earlier in the broadcast, we asked you, what has been your favorite moment from the All-Star Paris 2014? We've got a ton of great responses, so it is with the utmost effort that we were able to whittle it down. We've got a few videos in the background as well. So up first, this comes to us from @dpaulus20. He says, the Mad Lift Dream Lane. Everything about it, right down to the awkward bromance back hug. Deficio, what was your take on the double life combo?
I mean, it's young love. It is beautiful to watch. Double lift, a bit fangirlish, very, very touchy on to Mad Life here, but playing together, it was like, yeah, for the first 5 minutes, we would lane together, the Mad Life would be like, I'm actually not even going to stay here, and start roaming around and making plays, and Double Lift was just stuck in the bottom lane. However, it was cute to see.
Yeah, it's forbidden love, unfortunately. Rush Hour, unhappy with that one. Next one from @EvishGamer. Gamer. My favorite moment is when we saw original Fnatic picks and SKT T1 K using the team comp and all of their own skins. I'm going to answer this one because I loved that. I thought it was great seeing a team using the composition that helped them win the Season 3 World Champions and Signature Champions, no less.
Also interesting how that composition has completely, well, not completely, but partially fallen off, to indicate like how the meta game is shifting right now. Some of these picks are just no longer as viable.
Well, they still won with it, so
because SKT.
All right. Next one, @iPete93. Favorite moment was watching Messiah and Toys duke it out for one final time. Crepper, you've actually played against some of these guys.
Yeah, when we were in the CLGU prime of our years, we were not in CLG prime. We played against WE with Messiah. We actually spent a week living in the Taipei Assassin's house over in Taiwan. We lived there like with all the members, including Toys. So that was a really fun experience to see both these like familiar faces back. And I really like that their respective teams, Fire and Ice, allowed them to go mid lane one more time for themselves and for the fans. It was a nice gesture, and I think everybody really enjoyed that match.
I completely agree. Next one comes to us from @JKARGIC. The amazing crowd cheering for almost every great play, regardless of team. Every tournament needs guys like these because what is your profession? I love the screams, guys.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm completely in love with this crowd. I wish I could get out there and interact with all you guys because it's super wonderful. So, unfortunately, all I can say is je vous aime, but keep being wonderful, guys.
I agree, I guess. Next one from @RezaMD. Seeing how happy Cloud9 were to get crushed by SKT T1 K was awesome. It shows just how much they appreciate good competition. And Monty, not only did Cloud9 appreciate it, Link himself was on there. I'm sure he's got some valuable experience as well.
Of course. I mean, if you're Cloud9 going into this competition, first off, I think they performed very admirably given the circumstances that they faced here, and they performed better than, honestly, I expected them to do. And that was, I think, really good sign for the NA scene. But if you're Cloud9, if you've been so dominant in North America, how do you get to that next level? How do you reach the next, growth in your team's strategy and your team's play? And the only way to do that is to play against teams that are better than you. And so I think for a lot of the members of Cloud9, this was great because you can learn so much from not only the games that we saw on stage, but from all the scrims that happened as well, talking to the other players. They are coming back with a wealth of knowledge.
Well, we'll see how they can implement that. I believe the final tweet comes to us from @Shronyboy. He says, seeing Froggen on Anivia once again and totally rocking the show brought back so many memories. I think it was awesome. It was great seeing Froggen went unkilled, got 20 stacks on that Soul Stealer. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for those responses. It is not too late to join the conversation. So send your thoughts to us @LOL Esports and use the hashtag All-Star. Coming up, we do have Game 3 of our All-Star Finals between SKT, T1 K, and OMG, possibly the last game. But first, all week we've been asking you how you're watching All-Star Paris. And one of our first photos today comes from the champs at the University at Minnesota. Duluth, I think that's how I say it. Our next one is from a viewing party at Indiana Tech. Their motto, I believe, is live, learn, and gank. It's an awesome motto, guys. You can share how you're watching all of the action out of Paris by tweeting your pictures to us @LOL Esports. Use that hashtag All-Star. Stay right with us, guys. We'll be right back.